To another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard or Reserves, you've done so honorably, then you're in the right place. Even if you haven't done so honorably, you're in the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, sponsored by AVET Project. And folks, you can find us online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com. And of course, visit our website, avetproject.org. Folks, this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please, get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or iced tea, and a pen and paper, because we're always efforting to bring you important information that you can use and share with others. With that said, let's roll down the runway and get this show off the ground. You all know me, I'm Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AVET Project. But you also know I never fly through the airwaves alone.
Good morning, I'm Glenn McGuffey, retired Air Force and retired manager of the Brevard County Veteran Services team. I retired from there 1 August of last year, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of airplanes and noise to bring to you today. We didn't have helicopters flying around for breakfast like we did last week at the Tyco Air Show, but that was exciting, and we've got an exciting show for you today with a very exciting guest to talk about something I bet a lot of you never heard of, and tell you what it's all about and how it can help our veterans and does help our veterans. And let me turn it back to Garen.
Well, before we get there, you brought up the subject. Folks, I hope you made it out to the Tyco Airbird War Show, the 2014 edition, and stop by the WMEL booth where AVET Project and American Warrior Radio were broadcasting from, because Glenn, like you said, we had a phenomenal time. We had that extra hour, which we packed that show.
Yeah, bonus time.
Yeah, and folks, it was beautiful, and we want to thank all the folks associated with the Valiant Air Command for hosting us and all the other fine folks and vendors that came out. It was sincerely a beautiful time, and it was really nice to see families get together and go and enjoy the afternoon.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I went over and tried to ride the bumper cars, but they told me I was too big.
And of course, we have to get a salute out to AM 1300 WMEL and John and Vern Harper for allowing American Warrior Radio to set up there and do a live remote. And of course, John O'Hara and Vince back here in the studio. Just a team effort. And that's what it's all about, folks. AVET. What does that mean? American Veterans
Empowerment Team.
That's right. See, even Glenn and I, we tag team on that. AVET is an acronym. Just keep that in mind. It's a team, folks, and we have to work together. One thing I want to get a quick shout out about, because we got a little housekeeping, we always do. There's some really good things going on in our community, Glenn, that are free. And we just had another edition of the Space Coast Community Law School on Thursday. What did they talk about Thursday?
Well, Thursday they talked about trial process and advocacy, and I bet there's going to be pretty much a full house for the next one in this day and age. I would think there would be anyway, and the subject's going to be debt and credit card defense by Andrew Steele, Esquire. Of course, that means he's a lawyer.
And that's on March 27th. You want to pre-register because the class sizes, this is a free seminar. It's an informational seminar.
Free.
Yeah, that's the key word. You know, that's the operative word always. We're bringing you stuff that's free. All you got to do is register. You can go to SCCLS, Sierra, Charlie, Lima, Sierra.com, SCCLS.com, or what's the number they can call?
321-269-6833. Again, 321-269-6833.
You're going to speak with Britta Hawkins or one of her associate. Now, she's a partner at the law firm that she's employed at, but she and the Brevard Bar Foundation and all the fine folks there put this program together for free. You get a binder, you get a pen, you get an outline for each of the seminars, and it's held where?
It's held in the jury assembly room at the Vieira Courthouse. And don't forget there will be checks for security as you come in, so don't bring your hunting knife and your firearms and all that kind of stuff. But don't worry about where it's located. The security people can direct you where it's at, because the courthouse is otherwise pretty much shut down that time of day.
And there are 5 weeks left of this spring term, this spring semester of Space Coast Community Law School. It's a project of the Brevard Bar Foundation. And like Glenn said, the time is 6 to 8 every Thursday. 6 to 8 every Thursday. Just go online, check it out. SCCLS, Space Coast Community Law School. See what classes you'd like to attend. Just hit the button, register. It's really easy. And Britta and her staff even shoot out email reminders. So if you got busy during the middle of the week and you'd signed up for a class, boom, you got a reminder on your email.
Yeah, get registered. And just as before we drop the subject, 2 weeks from now will be firearms, and you better call in and register for that one, because it always fills up.
It's going to be standing room only. The other issue, well, event, and this is a biggie, and it's an important one, because it's the AVET Project ribbon cutting. It's going to be accomplished through Melbourne Regional Chamber, and it's being held where, Glenn?
At American Legion Post 200. That's in Satellite Beach, 105 Ocean Boulevard, and you can't miss it. It'll be on your right-hand side if you come off US 1.
Yeah, it's just kind of tucked right behind the 7-Eleven there.
Right.
And it's a ribbon cutting, and it's a meet and greet, okay? AVET Project has not had a ribbon cutting, so Melbourne Chamber is going to take care of that. We've got special guests. We've got a POW MIA survivor. We've got a Pearl Harbor survivor that's going to show up. We've got some various commanders that are going to make brief speeches, because I got to tell you, it's from 4 to 6 p.m. Friday, April 4th. Remember I told you to get that pen and paper? Write it down. If you're active duty, if you're retired, if you just like to show up and support us, it's wonderful. If you're active duty or reservist, you're going to get free food, and you're going to get a free membership with the American Legion. So you don't want to miss this.
That's a free 1-year membership.
And that's Friday, April 4th from 4 to 6. And then what do they do after 6 o'clock there, Glenn, on Fridays?
Well, on Fridays they play bingo, and I used to think, well, big boys don't play bingo, but I kind of enjoy playing bingo. And
made some money too, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, from time to time, I don't know over the long haul if I'm ahead or behind, but that's the way gambling goes. And there's also going to be some music there by Gypsy Rain and
bunch of retired Navy guys. They're awesome.
What type of music do they play, Garen?
They do the classic rock and a variety of stuff. They really do. And Monday's Mona Lisa has a special song that they're going to perform. And these youngsters have been affiliated with AVET Project for years now. We've watched them grow up and watched their music get even better and better every time. And they're going to be helping us celebrate this ribbon cutting. It is a meet and greet at American Legion Post 200. If you're active duty or reserves, you get free food and beverages, not alcoholic, but you still, wet your whistle with a soda or water.
That's right, and the free American Legion membership for active duty and reservists.
That's right, free barbecue. We want you to
and
RSVP.
Guard if you have some guard people.
That's a fact.
Here.
That's a fact, Jack. Bring in your CAC, your common access card if you're in civies, or bring yourself in your uniform, and we'll get you taken care of. It's going to be a fun time. Fun time. Find all this information at avetproject.org, or go to the Facebook page. That's easy to find. Go to the homepage of avetproject.org. Lower left corner, click on the Facebook icon. It'll take you right there. Please RSVP by March 31st to Kim, that's K-I-M, at avetproject.org. Kim at avetproject.org. Spread the word, folks. We want to have a blast. We want to welcome all our active duty, reserve, and guard members with a free membership, 1-year membership to the Legion, and have a fun time. And I think it's going to be a blast. It really is. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get one other thing out there, because I know you're all excited to hear who we've got in the wings here for our special guest interview. And it's a very important topic and a timely one. But I gotta mention, Runaway Country. It's happening now. There's still time for you to come out to this. AVET Project, we have set up a booth in conjunction with Space Coast Disability Council. So seek us out. We're out there on the grounds over by the vendors, and stop by, say hello, maybe pick up a Red Shirt Friday shirt. Just stop on by and say hello. If you can make a donation, we appreciate that, but it's also informational. So we're out there at Runaway Country, which goes on through tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, that's my understanding. It'll run on Sunday and finish up with a big bang. There's some big name groups on Sunday, so I encourage you to get out there. And if you're out there, you better stop by AVET booth.
That's right. Say hello. You'll see. We're all volunteers, folks, so pop on over at the Runaway Country AVET Project SCDC, Space Coast Disability Council booth. Having that was a whole lot to go through, but you know what? It's time to get busy. Give you the information because I know you're waiting for it. We have in studio with us a very special guest, Don Wassemer. Hi, Don.
Hi, Darren. How you doing?
Doing well. I have to, before we even get started, the topic today is
The Veterans Treatment Court from Brevard County.
Before we get there, though, and folks, this is a very exciting program, relatively new, relatively speaking, but give the folks out there in American Warrior Radio Land a little bio about yourself. Where were you born and raised, and were you ever in the military?
Well, I was born in New York City, lived in New York and Pennsylvania, in the mountains in Pennsylvania. Served in the Navy in Vietnam as a hospital corpsman, and I worked in medicine for about 40 years. Retired from the VA, and was interested in the Veterans Court when I first saw this appear in Buffalo, where it began, and the entire concept was just phenomenal, because veterans do have unique problems with transitioning back from, especially combat situations, back into society.
And what's this Veterans Treatment Court all about? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going, what in the world is that?
It's a diversion court. It's sort of a combination of the principles of the drug alcohol courts and also mental health courts, and specifically designed for veterans who are coming back with issues possibly related to PTSD or traumatic brain injury and so on, and having difficulties just assimilating back into society and getting in trouble with the law.
And this really kind of dovetails nicely with your, as you said, your entire career you've been affiliated with some form of medicine. You were a corpsman in Vietnam. What did that entail? What's a corpsman?
A hospital
And it's
corpsman.
not a corpsman, by the way.
Right.
It's a corpsman.
Hospital corpsmen, medics. The medics, we anything from field medicine to hospital medicine, similar to anything you would see in normal civilian society, except we served in combat also. The hospital corpsmen with the Marines are actually from our Navy hospital corpsmen.
So, okay, tell us what kind of troubles with the law these people, is this felons and murderers, or who are we talking about here?
No, this court in Brevard County, we only deal with misdemeanors, and they have to be accepted into the court by the state attorney. Primarily issues, it could be possession of drugs or alcohol in an inappropriate place. Sometimes domestic violence, could be assault, battery, petty larceny, things like that. We do not do any driving infractions, no reckless driving, no DUIs. They're specifically eliminated from this court.
Okay, and that brings up an interesting subject. And again, getting back to your military career and the career afterwards, being involved in medicine, some 40 years, it kind of really, it qualifies you to recognize signs and symptoms of some of the disorders these guys and gals are suffering from. And like we said, it's always been a passion of yours to establish a Veterans Treatment Court here. Going back into the history of the Veterans Treatment Court, though, where was it originally formed? Where did it take root?
Well, the concept began in Buffalo, New York, and was a Judge Russell began the program, and it has picked up around the country and become very popular, especially with the returning vets from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Something like 100 Veterans Treatment Courts across the country so far, I read.
Yes. Yeah,
And this is for any veteran, regardless of conflict or age or when they served?
correct. We have a lot of veterans that we're dealing with here that are Vietnam era veterans, and as well as younger fellows and gals coming home right now. It's men and women. It's not just men, and all ages.
So Don, why was it so important? Because AVET Project was, in the beginnings helping put this, offer what we could for assistance, and you knew Judge John Murphy, and he's a 30-year colonel, he's a Green Beret actually.
Yes.
Started to gel. How long ago now?
A little over 2 years. Judge Murphy initiated the program here in Brevard County, and when I found out about it, I got in touch with him, and now I'm the mentor coordinator.
And I think we mentioned, Glenn, on a previous episode that, Don, you were so itching to go and get this going that at a not too long ago AVET Project PR&R retreat, you got to meet a young man, Marty Gonzalez, Staff Sergeant Marty Gonzalez from the Marines, who was the first successful graduate of a similar program in Houston, Texas.
Right.
So that must have been encouraging for you to see somebody that actually had gone through the program and graduated and was keeping their nose clean.
Awesome success story. Fine young man, and it's good to see that infractions like these don't ruin their life. I mean, these young kids coming home, getting out of the military, and you get one thing on your record, one bad police arrest and conviction for something, and it's very difficult to find a job, especially in this economy.
And okay, so how does a veteran who's broken the law under the criteria that you just talked about, how do they get into this Veterans Treatment Court?
Well, one of the things that we've done is encourage the police, the first responders, and the people in the prisons and jails to identify who the veterans are. And then once
It's a good first step.
Exactly. Once you know who they are and you can inform them about the Veterans Court, then they request to be seen in the Veterans Court, and then the state attorney's office will look at the case, and they will decide whether it's a case that's eligible for the court, and then the final approval is from Judge Murphy.
And also, I want to add in there, folks, if you are a veteran in the state of Florida, as well as other states, I know we've got listeners across the nation, there is a new distinction being offered for driver's licenses. And here in Florida, it is a V to indicate you're a veteran. I would presume that may be one way for law enforcement to recognize they've got a person from a special population that they're dealing with.
Yes, yeah, and that is, I've got that on my license, and it's an excellent way to help identify who those people are.
And let me say, don't run down right now and try and get a V on your license if it's not coming up on expiration, because you'll end up paying a fee that's almost equal to paying for a new driver's license. Wait till it comes up to be renewed, and then at that point in time, it's a minimal fee to get the V put on there.
Exactly.
Is that how you got your V on there?
Yes.
V for veteran. We like that. But you ain't never going to get in trouble because you do something we'll get to in a minute that continues to make this program grow, and you're an integral, essential part of it. Getting back to the whole Veterans Court origination, though, up in Buffalo, Judge Robert Russell, had this idea to form this kind of like what they do with the drug treatment courts, but serve this particular population. Why do you think that's important? Why should veterans have this extra little bit of consideration?
Well, they're a unique part of society. They've experienced things that most of the people in our country don't ever experience in their life. And it's like only 1% of our population actually serves in the military. And
did y'all hear that, everybody? Less than 1% of all Americans have ever served in the military.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's the top 1%. Sorry, go ahead, Don.
Right, we are the 1%ers that
There you go. I like that. You find me that way.
And they don't. When we leave the country, we don't go to resorts. We go to the places in the world that most people would never think of going, and see things that are horrific, and come home with haunting memories of things that they've seen other people have to do to each other. And it's difficult to come back and just forget those things. And as a result, a lot of the people end up self-medicating themselves with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, self-medicating. What do you mean? They're not going. They're going to the drugstore themselves, or what? What do you mean?
Well, they're using street drugs or alcohol, and they're trying to suppress the problem, the emotional problems that they have based on what they experienced, and that ends up leading them into doing things they normally wouldn't do, and getting in trouble with the law. And that's the reason for the Veterans Treatment Court, to help them get back on track, get back into society where they need to be, and relieve the problems in the long term. And it saves us a lot of money also by not having these people burden the society by being in the prison.
Well, and that makes perfect sense, but there are some definite differences, as I mentioned. And folks, you've heard Marty Gonzalez on American Warrior Radio before tell his story, so we're not sharing anything that's private information, which we never do. AVET Project protects every participant in one of our programs' confidentiality to the nth degree. But Marty has shared specifically on American Warrior Radio what happened to him, just as you described. He was in the Battle of Fallujah, remember, Glenn?
Yep.
You know, he's got 3 Purple Hearts. His body is broken in more places and ways than I can describe. And he came back here, and just what you said, whether he was not getting the timely or appropriate care from the VA, he started drinking and mixed some of his pain medication and had an awful accident. But that was a felonious activity. He did something more than a misdemeanor. So each jurisdiction gets to pick and choose how they're going to apply the law. And Florida, as of yet, has limited it to misdemeanor offenses.
In Brevard County, I don't know about the rest of the state, but I know in Brevard County, yes, and I'm pretty sure most of the other counties in the state also are misdemeanors at this point. But that can change.
Yeah, and I know I was at an event talking with Judge Murphy, and it seemed to be his intent to try and expand the eligibility criteria to other offenses than just the ones that are allowed now to be put into the Veterans Treatment Court by the state attorney if that's what they decide to do.
Correct.
Okay, so like you said, Glenn, let's just break the ice all over again. A young veteran or an old veteran, just somebody has to have honorable service. Okay, they can't have one of them big chicken dinners and expect to get into the Veterans Treatment Court, right?
Right.
Bad conduct discharge for all you out there.
That's right.
So, and it's not a traffic-related offense. Give us the criteria again that they can be admitted into the Veterans Treatment Court.
Well, if it's a crime, a violent crime, and there was a victim involved, they need the permission of the victim to allow them to be entered into the court also. Other crimes, normally it's just the state attorney's office just makes the decision, and then the judge, the final approval, whether admitted to the court.
Okay, and how long does that take? If somebody does, give me an example. Give me an example, not a name, but an example of something that just happened recently that was admitted before the court.
If somebody comes into the court, they could probably expect it's going to take about 6 months to get through the process. And that depends then entirely on how cooperative they are, how compliant they are with the orders of the court. If they go to the VA, they go to their treatments, they pass all their drug screens and so on, 6 months is pretty good. If you trip along the way and you fail and you've got to go back for further treatment, yes, it can go longer. And some people do fail.
Okay, so we've only got a minute before the break. Give me an example of a misdemeanor crime that a vet may have committed that would be admitted before the Veterans Treatment Court.
It could be drunk and disorderly, assault and battery. Sometimes we've had some domestic violence cases, like I said, some petty theft, any number of things. So sometimes it's a firearms. We've had some with firearms issues also.
So it's pretty wide-ranging.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, folks, listen, we're just getting into the heart of this matter. I know you want to hear more because it's going to help out all your brothers and sisters and community-wide. The Veterans Treatment Court. We're talking with Don Wasmer, who is the lead mentor of the program. Don't go anywhere. American Warrior Radio is going to be right back. Honestly, get your pen and paper. We'll give you information on how you can get involved and share it with your neighbors, friends, relatives, and so on and so forth. Don't go anywhere. American Warrior Radio will be right back on AM 1300 WMEL.
Stay there.